Hey everybody, I am back with another Wrath of Ashardalon video. I have the two heroes here. I'll read their names in a second, but on the bottom, but basically I've got a, I'll call him a Draconian until I look at the bottom, but I think it's like a dragon person wizard, and a rogue. Now, just the reason I can't seem to remember even after I read it what this race is in D&D is that I'm mainly a 1st and 2nd edition D&D player, you know, from back in the day, and I've only, like I always say, I've only recently gotten back into gaming in the last year, and D&D even sooner than that, and so apparently they've created this race of dragon people that was not around when I played D&D. Now, with that said, I did read the Dragonlance novels back in the day, and they had what I think they called Draconians, which were, you know, they were basically like these guys, except they were bad, and they were not player character races, to my memory. The other guy here is a half-orc, and he is called Tarak, the half-orc rogue. And this other guy is Heskin, the Dragonborn. That's the word I was looking for, wizard. I have seen that. I think it's kind of a cool idea. I'm not that familiar with them, but as a race, but I think it's kind of cool. And so, I guess I'd say I'm somewhat satisfied with the rogue. I'm not entirely happy, and I don't know. I made him kind of bland, like just wearing leather and sort of a dingy guy that just sort of you would find in a typical medieval tavern looking for some sort of job to do. I've seen some people color his pants, like, you know, yellow and green and things like that to make it different than the top. I just didn't want to do that. Not to say that that's bad, but I wanted him to look like something that just crawled out of the dirt. And that's kind of what I got, and so I don't know. I'm fine with it, but he was never meant to be like my showpiece, or whatever. I did spend a little bit more time on the wizard here. It's harder to see, but I have, if you're looking up close and when you're playing the game, I've got purple in the embroidery and gold. I did a bit of wet blending on this kind of crystal ball that's on his scepter staff. You can see all the dry brushing here, and I did a lot of dry brushing on his head, you know, himself. And, you know, overall, I wanted him to be kind of glitzy looking wizard, you know, and so I chose blue, because I actually don't have a lot of blue in this set from what I'm painting. Like, typically if you look at the monsters, I mean, probably the most brightly colored one is the Beholder being pink, but the rest are all browns and greens and grays and a couple red ones, but that's about it. So, wanted to mix up the game board color, and blue and purple and gold seemed like a cool wizard color. Got the rogue here. Had a bit of trouble with his face. When you see the pictures, I didn't know what to paint the skin of a half-orc again, and I suppose you could make the argument from a genetic perspective that they could kind of take both human and orc shades. Excuse me. And so I initially went with green, and then I ended up playing around a bit with a flesh tone, and that's what I ended up deciding on in the end, is using a flesh tone. I used this wash here. Let me find it. Oh, I should be better prepared than this. Here we go. I used Game Ink by Vallejo. I've never used this stuff before, and so I was really surprised as how dark it is, and maybe just not normally using it. It's a bit of a learning experience. When I first put it on, I mean, it's really, really dark, and so I actually found that it worked really good when I just mixed it with some white paint, and then I was able to get a nice looking skin tone. You know, it really did create that skin sort of flesh tone that I was looking for. I also worked a bit with this, messing around with it, Game Color Pale Flesh. You know what surprised me? I think I maybe just am not shaking it up enough, but I found this to be extremely liquid. very difficult to get a pull on it, almost like an ink. And I think maybe I'm just not shaking it up enough. But I found I'm having trouble with this one. I actually like the old Games Workshop Elf Flesh, I think it's called. I think is the name of it. I always found that to be a nice consistency that I could dilute down rather than trying to get it thicker. So this guy here, pretty simple. You know, actually to create this look, it might just look just like a dry brush, but as you'll see, I actually did a lot on the overall body to create this look. What I ended up doing is, after, you know, spray painting it or airbrushing it brown, I did a quick shade over the whole thing just to create some dark, you know, enamel tones into there, and get that lacquer sort of in the recesses. Then I did a dry brush of a lighter color, but then I actually did an inking of Agrex Earthshade over this again. And so I actually did quite a number of layers, and the dry brush sometimes I've found can be, normally a lot of people do it last, but I found sometimes you can do a dry brush, and particularly if you get a bit of a chalkiness to it, you do an inking over the dry brush and it still creates a nice lightening of where of the raised areas where you want it to be, but then in combination with you know, the dark tones inside. And so I did inking after Quickshade, which I'm not sure how often people do that, but I thought it came out pretty good. And so yeah, he's pretty simple. I did do a highlight on of his sword with the old Games Workshop chainmail, and Lead Belcher was underneath it, just where the light would be. And so I just covering up here, you can see where I've highlighted it a bit there. But he's pretty simple, you know, nothing too extravagant. So I hope you like these guys, and next I'll be doing a video just on Vistra, the Dwarven warrior, I believe. Dwarf fighter, yeah. Okay, thanks everybody.